We're going to do an Enchanted Forest workflow right now. And here we have a portrait that I recently photographed of two young ladies, and they're wearing their wings and fairy outfits. In our studio we have a selection of wings and fairy outfits that we carry, and we've had many of them made at a local dance school supply store. And we collect others, especially at Halloween you get a lot of outfits. Anyway, so it's something we do on a regular basis, and we have regular promotions and specials. So it's a little bit different than your regular portraiture, but a lot of things are the same. So let me just start with the typical workflow. And I should let you know that I size down the image to 72 dpi just to speed up the workflow. Normally I work on the image right off the camera at full resolution, but to speed things along, this is the way we're going to work it. So as you probably know, and if you don't, I'm going to show you, our first step is the unsharp mask, and the settings are 20, 60, 0. And the reason we do an unsharp mask is you can tell right there, it just increases the contrast, but it mostly takes away that foggy haze. Next step is I want to go in and with the selective color, in the red channel, I want to knock out some of the cyan to punch up the skin tones. And it's arbitrary, totally up to you, but I always rule of thumb like to tell people less is more, so don't overdo it. In some images you can add a lot. This is a lot more than a normal portrait. I'm going to zoom in a bit more because the next step, I'm going to go Image Adjustment, Hue Saturation. And I'm going to increase the saturation. And this is, you got to be very careful with this particular step because, you know, obviously you can ruin the image. But with these Enchanted Forest portraits, I can actually give it a little more than I normally would because these have a very mystical feeling to them, and, you know, we want to give it a little bit of a surreal look. So I went a little more than I normally would. Next step, I want to go to the Burn tool in Highlights. Let's go to about 20, nice low exposure, and I'm just going to gently burn all around. I notice right here I think my background light is showing right there, so I'm just going to go clone that out real quick. Alright, back to the Burn tool, and I'm going to quickly, not overdoing it, but I'm going to just give it a quick burn in highlight mode. Then I'm going to go to midtones, and I'm going to burn a little more. The reason we go highlights first is so that there's some density in the pixels, especially in the highlights, for this brush to grab onto. That's good. Don't want to overdo it. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to go in. I'm going to play with the levels for a second here. I'm going to brighten it up just a little bit, but I want to increase the midtones in this area. I'm going to go to my history palette, and I'm going to go back one state, and I'm going to click on the history brush, and I'm going to go select the history brush, and I'm going to reveal that state right there, and I'm going to increase the opacity quite a bit. So I want to lighten the water. This is going to be water. I want it to make it look very pool-like. These rocks are from Studio Specialties. They're out of Toronto, Montreal, I think Chicago or New York or something like that, or LA. They've got stores all over North America. We bought the moss, the trees. The water is actually a piece of 4x4 plexiglass, mirrored plexiglass. So I'm going to go to Blur, Motion Blur, and we're going to blur the water, but I want to make sure we're going in the right direction here. So we're going to go back one state, put the history brush right there, maybe not that high. We just want to give the water a little bit of blurriness, so it looks like it's ripply. Want to make it look water-like, almost mystical. There, that's good enough. Okay, that's almost it. Now, I always like to use a bit of soft tar. Again, the Haji Soft is a favorite to continue with that mystical look. And of course, as part of the Haji Soft, we're going to erase away some of the softness. Yeah. Now for a basic image, that's pretty much all we do. You know what? I'm going to erase a little more of that background. I want a little more of that background to show up. It's a little bit too soft. That's what I like about the Hajisoft is you get to reveal as much as you want. That's it in a nutshell. Now when I work these and I show them to client, I often will go in and I will make a sepia toned print, which is 25-25-0 in colorize mode, and then I will go edit, fade saturation, and I will go 50%. So I have a half sepia, half color. See, there's full color, there's half sepia. Everybody seems to love this look, half sepia, half color. And of course I don't use the exact steps I'm showing you. I use this, all these are set up as actions in our studio, so I can just click a button and it's instant, you know, half sepia. All these actions of course are part of your downloads for the inner circle, so you should have access to them and the Softar. Now I just want to do one more quick thing here. Add noise. We can add a lot of noise, a little bit of noise. If we don't like how much we added, we can fade it, knock it back, or go back in the step. Giving it a bit of noise gives it a little bit of texture, and it's very appropriate for these types of shots. Now there's a plugin called Auto Effects Mystical Lighting. It's something that I do use on occasion. It's about the only plugin I do use, and for these kinds of images, if I want light coming in from the sky, you know, a radiant beam of light, that's about the only aspect to that particular plugin that I will use. And when I do use it, I use that particular function about 99 or 100% of the time. I don't use a lot of plugins, so it's about the only one that I've purchased over the years that I find of use. So that's it. And I should mention one final thing before I close here. When I'm working these prints, I usually sell them wall portraits. I have a tendency to go in, spend a little more time, and I will do, where are we here? Smudge tool or blur tool. Just let me show you blur. And we're going to go to lighten, and I sometimes will go in and just kind of distort the background, give it a painterly look to it, or even go to some of the props in the wing, excuse me, the wings and the flowers, and I will go in, and I'm not an artist, so you know, you need if you have a lot of manual dexterity and you're good with art, then you might want to use Painter and one of those Wacom tablets, but I find that those are way too challenging for me. The smudge tool is very efficient too. And again, you go to lighten or darken most of the time, and you want to get the strength up to about 50%. And you can go in there and you can just create a nice subtle blurring. If you want to take your time with these types of portraits, oops, that's too much. It's a great way to give it a painterly look. So, and it takes it takes hours. So you want to take your time, do a good job. So, and you can also go into filter, liquify if you want to use the smudge tool in there. It's pretty much the same, and it gives you a painterly look. And it's my way of cheating to get that painterly look, which is very, very appropriate for these kinds of images. So there you go, the Enchanted Forest. Okay, there's one more thing I forgot to mention as far as working on these Enchanted Forest portraits are concerned. You'll notice that on some of them there's little glowing crystal balls and whatnot. It's very simple. You probably know this already, but I'm going to show you how I do them. I'll add a few on this image. Go to Filter, Render, Lens Flare, and you'll see the crosshairs, and you can adjust the size of the lens flare however big you want, place as many as you want, wherever you want, click OK, and there it is. Now sometimes the lens flare is a little too much, so what you can do is click on the history brush in the previous state and erase some of the excess lens flare. There you go, and you can add as many as you want. Like I said, go in and you can move it another place, make it a little bit smaller, Add another one. You just keep adding more and more and more as you need them. See, there's 3 right there. That's exactly what I had done for the little crystal ball that the little girl is holding there. So just another important element to the Enchanted Forest images.